What's up, guys, and welcome to the next episode of the NeoVintage podcast. I'm Jabril, and I'm here with
Steve. I hope everyone's doing well today.
And for you guys who haven't watched the show before, we're just two guys that like to talk over the biggest stories in gaming. And so the first segment we like to start with is what we've been playing. So what have you been playing?
So on the cusp of all these big games coming out, Resident Evil, Doom, Animal Crossing, Final Fantasy, I'm trying to stay light. I'm not trying to jump into anything heavy. I've been playing a little bit of that Fire Emblem Warriors game. The Persona 3 and 5 dancing. Trying to clean up those trophies and...
You've been playing that for a while.
Yeah, they're grindy for those trophies. And you know me, I love a plat. Yeah. I love a platinum trophy.
I respect it.
It's a grind. It's not like 4. 4 was very easy to get. So that's all I've been doing, really, just playing light little games like that.
And just killing time until the big ones?
A little bit of Hades on PC.
Okay.
Just got that. And I don't really like rogue-like games, like Binding of Isaac, Rogue Legacy, all those kind of games. There's something about Hades, I don't know if it's just like the Olympic feel, the whole Greek mythology, but it feels like it's one continuous gameplay. Like, it's not like you die, you restart. Like, you die, he goes back to Hades, and he makes note that he was just killed because he is, demigod and stuff like that. So that's all I've been really doing, just keeping it light before we jump into the big games. What have you been tapping into?
I'm pretty much in the same place. I don't want to start. I've been thinking, I was like, let me replay a little bit of Persona 5 to get ready for like Persona 5R when that comes out. I was like, no, that's a stupid idea. So I was like, you know what? It's a good prep before Doom Eternal comes out. Let me just play, not Doom 2015. Let me play the original Doom because I heard they kind of like were playing around with the engine. The frame rates were higher. So I got it on Switch. Really loving that. It's way easier than I remember for some reason. Maybe I just don't have the difficulty cranked up, but no, that's really, really good. It runs surprisingly well too, the original Doom. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. And then the new Mega Man ZX collection.
Okay.
A lot of games in there. I didn't realize they were like so dense because I haven't played them since childhood. Those are the ones I probably have like the biggest connection to actually playing as a kid. Because again, I experienced everything else like retroactively. And the PS2 Mega Man X games I like hated. So those were the first ones that like I was on Game Boy playing and I actually really loved them. And they hold up really well. Like, you haven't played the collection yet, right?
So I haven't played the collection, and I remember I played these games weird when they did the original Zero collection on DS. They did this mode where you could play all 4 sewn together. So you don't know when one begins?
Man.
So I was super confused, and eventually I fell off because it felt like the game was never ending. But I actually have a lot of love for the 2 Advent games. Not Advent, the ZX and ZX Advent. So I'm super excited. I have it. I'm waiting on Amazon to ship my copy of it.
Yeah, and it's pretty affordable price too. I only paid like $30 or something like that.
30 or 40.
So really great. Like if you really like those games, I highly suggest you check them out because you're gonna get a lot of bang for your buck on that one. And I've kind of dabbled. So I've been replaying Zero, the first one. I want to work my way through the 4, and I've kind of dabbled in each one just to see how they look. I didn't realize, all 4 of them are like very similar in the way that kind of like the original 6 Mega Man are. They flow right into each other. So if you took away the intros and outros, I have no clue how you differentiate between them. And I didn't realize how different ZX and ZX Advent are because I had ZX as a kid. I didn't have Advent. My friend had Advent, and I thought that was kind of just like a DLC add-on. I didn't realize it was so different.
No, that's a true sequel.
Completely different. Sequel. So I really, really enjoyed that. So you want to get into stories?
So so the first story is more of just a honor and condolences to the family that, I'm going to butcher the name, but Kazuhisa Hashimoto, the creator of the famous Konami code, has passed away.
Right.
It's been in tons of games in general, popped up obviously more in Konami Games, starting with Gradius, but really was popularized in Contra. The up, down, left, right, BA start. So
that's where I learned about
something like that. So
up, down, left, right, BA. Something like that.
And it's been used in tons of stuff. I mean, there's done some YouTube channels named after that, and trophies and achievements. So respect, because that's one of the biggest gaming memes.
Yeah.
Or Easter eggs. So
one of the earlier ones. Too.
Yeah. So rest in peace to him.
Yeah, unfortunate reality is as new as the game industry happens, now the elder statesmen from the early days, they're getting a little bit up there, so it's a shame that we lost one of the greats. But let's get into the next story. So we have finally some new next-gen news, this time coming from Xbox. Did I not tell you the last show they would be the first ones to say something because they got big mouths over there. They love talking stats.
They do.
Sony is mysterious as hell right now. I don't know why. So basically we have a formal, not rumored, not leaked updates from Xbox. So this is kind of the different specs that they dropped. We have 120 frames per second support. Keep in mind, support. That doesn't mean every dev's going to take advantage of that. Yeah, that just means that that's kind of the top level of what you could do. We got SSD storage, so that's going to really increase load times. I would imagine that would help. 4 generations of compatibility. So if you had any doubt that the Xbox was going to have backwards compatibility, there you go. Game Pass day one. So for all you guys that are getting the Series X, you don't have to worry about buying a whole bunch of launch day games, because if you have Game Pass, that's going to carry over right into it. So we also have 12 teraflops. I don't know what that means. Do you know what teraflop is?
It's strong. I don't care.
It's
I don't,
big.
I don't
I
care
don't
the
know.
big. I mean, you haven't really gotten into too much PC gaming yet, and it doesn't really matter. I just want my games to look good, play good. So if that means my games will be looking better and running smoother, give me all the flops you want.
If that means a beautiful Hellblade experience, I'll take it. We got variable rate shading, hardware accelerated DirectX ray tracing. Ray tracing, I recognize that.
Yep.
Quick resume for multiple games. That's big.
Mm-hmm.
That means, again, you can put things in stasis and stuff like that. So it's like, imagine what the Switch does times 10, basically.
Pretty much.
And then smart delivery. I don't know. That could be marketing speak. I don't know what they mean by that. They didn't get deep into that.
Yeah, they didn't get too deep into it. The only thing I understood from the smart delivery, and I could be wrong, but it's just the sources that I looked into, were pretty much talking about what things that came out later that day was about the buying... not cross buying, but yeah, buying. If you bought a version on Xbox One, you were guaranteed and owed right to the Xbox One Series X version.
Specifically Cyberpunk too. That's a big one.
Cyberpunk was the big one. That's the only time I ever saw the smart delivery option again, or that phrasing was discussed later with the Cyberpunk. If you get the Xbox One version, this fall. Sorry, it was late to September.
Yeah,
right?
fall. Yeah.
So when you get it this fall, 2 months later, you won't have to rebuy your Xbox One Series X version.
Which is exciting for me, because I already pre-ordered the Xbox version of Cyberpunk, so at least I know. I don't know what's going to happen with Sony, but I know for a fact that I'll be able to play it on the next-gen console, so that would be pretty exciting.
Okay, I'm sure there was clearer interviews and stuff, so is it only if you get it digital, or if you buy physically Cyberpunk and you put it into your Xbox Series, will it just download the patch?
Yeah, that's what my understanding was they're going to patch everything retroactively. So I would imagine if they're completely backwards compatible, they're flexing the 4 generations of backwards compatibility. I would imagine if you're putting 360 discs into your Xbox Series X, the Cyberpunk disc, I would imagine you pop it right in and it download whatever patch, just kind of like the One X works. Because it seems like they're trying to keep a lot of what they established this gen with the next gen, just for more power pretty much. So I would imagine it'd work similar to like a regular Xbox game in an Xbox One X. Where you put it in there, it has the free patch, and then now you're playing a really upscaled game. So
that's what I understood. I guess wanted to also make it clear to other people that you can't just go buy the physical copy, and then when the Series X comes and trade in your physical copy. I'm sure it's going to be like a key.
Yeah.
And you'll just get a nicer version. Even if you're playing on the base Xbox One, then switch to Xbox One X, it just does it. You don't have to.
And I would imagine this saves a lot of work in terms of completely re-releasing remastered versions, kind of like what we saw like Last of Us last gen and GTA. So this time they could just drop a quick patch, pop the game into the new console, and not to mention they've already kind of established the fact that the first year is not going to have a whole bunch of exclusive games in terms of exclusive to the Series X. So we're going to see a whole bunch of this, I'm sure, from Ubisoft with stuff like Watch Dogs Legion, and the next Assassin's Creed, I would imagine, is going to be maybe working on the Xbox One, but also have a Series X patch that's going to do some significant upgrades. So I imagine that's kind of what the form is going to take.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, overlooking again just more of that Xbox Series X update, this machine's going to be strong. This machine is something to be dealt with. Again, they're pushing the power of the system, they're talking about the good features we want, which is backwards compatibility, because we know that Sony's going to drop the ball on that.
I'm praying that they don't, but I'm expecting that they will.
Max, we're probably going to get PS4 support. I'd be surprised if we get anything else.
I doubt 3 for sure.
Anything else is just, cherry on top. I doubt it. But this is going to make Xbox look really good. And when people were like, oh, is Sony getting nervous? I think behind doors, Sony probably is a little nervous, because even though it doesn't matter from teraflops to teraflops, all that stuff, it's the features. The thing that everyone took from this was strong hardware, all my games are going to work, and I get feature updates to current games. I just don't know if Sony's going to be able to match most of that. And I love Sony, but I just don't think they're going to... I don't think so.
After seeing the success that was the PS4 and that one thing that Microsoft had over them, which was the fact that they figured out backwards compatibility when Sony said it's not possible. And Microsoft was like, well, we found a way to make it work. And Sony's like, crap, we have this cell processor that's locking an entire generation away. I just feel like they need to figure out something. And maybe a better now integration, make it take the form of GamePass. I don't really know what next gen looks like in terms for Sony, but I feel like they got to figure out something. There's no way they cede that entire market to Microsoft.
Yeah, it's also just, I think it's getting to the point they're waiting too long, because every week we're here, Sony's going to announce the conference this month, or they're going to release this big state of play or special video set. I just think they've been quiet too long, and you're just letting Xbox really just take this quiet period. So, I don't know. It is what it is. So, the next story on the list, a new Platinum game has been announced. Our homeboy over there, Hideki Kamiya, has stated that the new game, which is named Project GG, is in development. There's a small teaser trailer out, and he's saying it's his third series in his superhero trilogy.
Yeah, which I wasn't aware existed.
So this, yes, neither did I. I'm a huge fan of like Wonderful 101, not yet. The release is soon. So, but more Viewtiful Joe. I was never aware he was calling this like a compilation of like these are my superhero themed games. I'm glad it's a thing now, but it's weird phrasing. But again, his third game in his superhero trilogy, Project GG, and like we discussed, it's very inspired by like Ultraman, Kaiju fights, giant Pacific Rim looking kind of thing. He hasn't said much else. Again, it is what it is. But it looked cool. It's weird because we're just getting Wonderful 101 soon.
Seems like a lot really fast.
It seems like a lot really fast. So I just don't know. I wonder how far it is in development. But Platinum is also known for just cranking things out.
For sure. Their productivity has gone way up.
Yeah, of different qualities though.
Yeah, it's hit or miss. It's kind of hit or miss.
That Legend of Korra game.
Oof.
Yeah.
I forget that.
Everyone likes to ignore that one. It's not
it was them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure it was them.
I'm just wondering, is this his take on Ultraman? Because that looks like Ultraman. What I used to watch on Cartoon Network back in the day, that looked like Ultraman a lot. So, or is it just his take on that genre? I don't know. I could see it going both ways. Yes. He's a really creative guy, so I could see him taking a lot of inspiration, maybe at some point kind of like spoofing that whole genre and doing his take on it. But I could also, how cool would it be where if it's a straight up Ultraman game done by Hideki Kamiya? That's gonna kill in Japan.
Yeah,
if that's really him. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, Platinum's doing an Ultraman game, which made sense because they always work with licensed IPs. So this is not their first, tango with that. But then they're like Project GG. I'm like, that's not Ultraman. I was like. Dollars to Donuts, I was like, that's an Ultraman game. I'm like, that's interesting for that fan. And like you said, in Japan, that is huge. Godzilla, Pacific Rim, and especially Ultraman is pretty much what started it down there for them. It's going to be dope, probably. I know, again, I would kind of wish it's its own IP because I want Platinum to start growing into their own thing so they can control their own stuff and there's no licensing. Because if it's really good and then in the future, it's going to be a Scott Pilgrim case and we can't play it again.
Away, yeah.
Don't lock it away, stuff like that. But Platinum's been doing smart moves, so I'm excited to see more of it. I'm assuming at some point in one of these conferences we'll probably see more.
Funny thing is, when I first heard that this trailer had dropped and I saw Project GG, my mind immediately went to Project Go Go. Oh no, new Viewtiful Joe, I'm so excited. And then I clicked, I was like, close but no cigar.
Yeah.
That's immediately what I was like, oh, that would have been a perfect name for it too, but turned out to be incorrect.
One day we'll get a Viewtiful Joe. At
least HD port. That at the very least, give us that. Just allow me to play it on Switch. That's what I want.
So, quick break into the show because it's not on schedule. I forgot who did an interview saying, "Hey, if you want Okami 2 of Viewtiful Joe 3, to start emailing and hashtagging Capcom on Twitter."
Really?
I forgot who said it. Let's get those trending because we want those.
Spam them.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, cool. So the next story, new Yacht Club Games announcement. So they dropped a direct style video and they announced multiple new projects and gave updates about existing projects. So the first thing they announced was a Ninja Gaiden type game called Cyber Shadow, which is what I'm most excited about. They gave an update about Shovel Knight Dig. I'm not personally into it, but I know it has its own little fan base of all these different spin-offs that they dropped. We have Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, a new game that they announced. So it's kind of a roguelike puzzle game hybrid. if you're into that. It has a new character, Puzzle Knight. They have a million knights at this point. I have no clue who's who at this point. And then they announced that they have a new IP in the works. So a lot of project for what I considered a relatively small team. So I'm really surprised that they managed to pull all this out. And gotta commend them. Big shout out to Yacht Club Games, from a Kickstarter to all this, that they're kind of like a powerhouse in that kind of indie game, pixel art type, field. So what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I have huge love for Yacht Club because we both know I'm a huge Shovel Knight fan. More of the original than all the other add-ons and stuff, but the dedication they did, the fan, they're one of the few like real successful stories of Kickstarter where they deliver on everything. I mean,
6 years worth of content.
6 years worth of content. They added 3 more story modes. They added a multiplayer Smash Brothers kind of mode with its own story, and ported it to everything. I remember playing it originally on my 3DS, and I was like, man, I wish this came elsewhere. Then it came to Wii U, Vita,
everything.
It's where I beat it was Vita, because that's what, oh boy, it's perfect.
It looks beautiful there.
So I'm glad for them to really do this. I'm surprised they didn't do the easy thing and go Shovel Knight 2.
I would have guessed that.
You gotta assume when I saw these announcements, and because every time they're saying they have an announcement, everyone assumes Shovel Knight 2. You gotta realize that they're probably trying to lay a base that they don't want to be just the Shovel Knight guys. So you're getting your spin-offs, you're getting, they're publishing that Cyber Shadow, so they're getting their hands in there, and a new IP, not another IP, not another game. Because if they said another game, people are gonna figure the sequel to Shovel Knight. And I'm glad they're not going. We're gonna get a sequel to Shovel Knight. I'm glad they're waiting, but they want to really. At some point, someone's gonna approach this team and try to buy them out. And what a great portfolio they'll have if they have just solid IPs.
Yeah, and I mean, man, that new Ninja Gaiden-esque game, that's all right up my alley. So.
When I was watching that trailer, I was like,
I'm on that.
Jabrel's all over this. I know he's watching this because it was.
I was just playing Oniken, and I'm like, the moment I saw this, I was like, oh, another one? Yes, please. And plus, like with games like The Messenger and like that, I'm being blessed lately. So, shout out Yacht Club Games, man. I'm curious to see what they got in the future for us.
Yeah, they haven't done us wrong yet. So.
I have faith in them.
I gotta give it to them. Yeah, they're really open to their community. So everything the community responds to, they're usually very good on responding back. And again, no broken promises. So that's good. Number 5 is a story that we kind of saw coming. If you were going through the week following news, is GDC, which is the Game Developers Conference, has been officially postponed / canceled / delayed.
We'll see.
We'll see what it really is. And this is what their statement they released is: after close consultation with our partners in the game development industry and community around the world, we've made the difficult decision to postpone the Game Developers Conference this March. This comes after Microsoft abandoning ship, I think Square, Sony I think was one of the first to pull out, and constant.
The biggest people.
The biggest people were doing it. The biggest influencers
Facebook
and YouTubers. Facebook was out, so Oculus wasn't going to be there. I mean, that'd be dangerous if you.
Yeah.
Wipe out the headset.
Oh my god, that would have been a nightmare.
And if you don't know, again, because now this is becoming a weekly thing here on the show, and I know we kind of joke about it sometimes. It is getting serious. It is the coronavirus or the
COVID-19.
The COVID-19 virus, because now
like
they don't want to call it corona. So yeah, that's becoming a big deal in these kind of situations. I was actually surprised. If it wasn't so close to PAX probably would have been closed this week.
Probably.
This weekend. So again, not too much to say there. Is stay safe out there, and I think it would have been better for GDC just to probably cancel than move to some. There's again they stated summer. It may come later. But summer is really E3 territory, and you got all these other events, Gamescoms, and all these other things that. We'll see. We'll see what makes it through. What's everyone's like on like conference watch now. What's gonna get canceled because.
I wonder if this will impact like E3. Like, is it really gonna last that long? I don't know.
You gotta think like these game developers and like Sony. Like Sony was, I think, said they said it for PAX. I believe that they had the demo for last of. It costs money. It costs money to have someone take a vertical slice of your game and. Pause development. Tickets were probably bought. Hotel rooms were probably bought, and certain aspects you can get that refund. Companies are losing a lot of money when they decide to pull out of these. Not just face value, but you got to think of the safety of your employees. But you're losing money because creating a demo of your game or show floor or video is not cheap. So I don't know. Is there anything else you think? It's just...
Well, I mean, of all the reasons you could cancel a show of this magnitude, I think they have more than enough reason to kind of cancel the period and just regroup for next year. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. Any later, I mean, if it's a light postponement and they move it to maybe like April, they might be able to get away with it. And that'll be enough time for maybe things to calm down. I don't know if a vaccine's incoming and we're getting new updates every single day. So things can change on a dime. Things got real severe really quick. So I guess it could be fixed theoretically pretty fast too. So, I mean, if they could turn that around that fast, maybe we could see GDC on the first half of the year. But any later, you're bumping heads with a lot of people. Yeah. And these developers can only show up to so many places at once. So I feel like if they move into summertime, that's within their right. But I think a lot of major players are not going to jump back into GDC. So I think GDC kind of this year at this point is kind of lost. And then when they come back in 2021, that's when you'll see the show in its full capacity. That's my guess at this point.
Yeah, that's my understanding is what they should do. Again, moving the conference, expecting people and companies to... I mean, Sony PlayStation's on the verge of releasing maybe a console this year. They don't have time to be making enough... I mean, at some point they have to do their conference. They're not at E3, so... But Microsoft can't be everywhere. I know they have a lot of people who like to open their mouths. They can't be everywhere showing the same thing in 3 different places weeks apart.
And not to mention, if you take someone like Sony, for example, you move it, let's say, to like May-ish. At that point, Last of Us, they're kind of off that at that point. It's out at this point, and they're probably going to start the early parts of the marketing for Ghost of Tsushima at that point.
That's true.
So you're asking them to not only spend the money that they did for the vertical slice of a game that's probably going to be out at that point, so a vertical slice is kind of useless at that point. Provide another vertical slice for another game that you just... At this point, you're costing Sony money. I doubt that they're going to be that pliable to GDC, which, I mean, as important of a conference it is, I don't know if it's just worth their bottom line at this point, this close to a console launch.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, at this point, the game developers who had those demos ready, release them on the marketplaces, on Xbox and PlayStation, do a good trailer, but I don't know. I don't know how those contracts work. I didn't even think about that. If they move GDC to like April, early May,
some of the games will be out. So
yeah, Final Fantasy VII is already out at that point, right?
Yeah.
April. And then you have
only fall games really, because not too many people are launching.
Nothing else is announced yet.
Nothing
so
that we know is launching in the summer. So
yeah, you can't step on toes and stuff like that. So
we'll see.
What it is. So, yeah, we'll see. Well, stay safe out there, everyone.
All right. So the last topic we have is, for some reason, the Uncharted movie is still happening. For whoever is excited about that, this movie has been in development since 2008. We've gone through 6 directors. But they recently asked Tom Holland about it, and apparently they're going to start shooting in a few weeks. So, first off, what is your thought about this vaporware movie? And what do you think about this whole Sony initiative to make movies going forward?
So I think they need to take a page out of Project CD Red's book, where The Witcher, even though it was lukewarm received, did pretty well on Netflix. Castlevania did amazing.
I love that show.
Can't wait this week. Season 3 is amazing, but it's a Netflix series. So them wanting to just crank out movies, I just don't see how you can... Even let's say they based it off Uncharted, and I know they said they're pulling strings from all over the Uncharted to later in the Uncharted series, there are flashbacks. Stuff like that, they're going with the younger Drake. I just don't see what are you going to tell me, though? I know the story. If I wanted to relive his experience, I've got 4 games, including, 5 if you include the Vita version. I got 5 games to go play to really just recap his story. I mean, this game is just... this movie is in development hell. I mean, I think Tom Holland went on record saying he was going to film in 4 weeks. They don't have a director.
Yeah.
Who's
going to film this?
Who's filming this?
Yeah.
So that is weird. I don't know who's filming. I mean, Tom Holland said he confirmed that, and I believe he confirmed that Mark Wahlberg is playing Sully. Oh. So this is how long this movie's been in development. Mark Wahlberg originally, at some point, signed on to play Nathan Drake.
Yes.
So it's been so long in development that he got so old that now he's playing Sully.
Yeah, 12 years.
I mean, Tom Holland went from a no-name to now he's a big name. It's got to be expensive.
100%.
So that's why I'm assuming they're probably going to crank this out. They also want this to be a franchise, so they're going to they want to get him. Tom Holland's going to get, he gets older every day, so I just don't see who this movie's for. I don't know. The casuals aren't going to go see this.
Did we not just see Tomb Raider flop? We just saw a game or a movie very similar in tone, translating a game, and it flopped hard. And from what I've heard, that movie's not terrible. This movie, Uncharted, is going to be terrible. I know it's going to be terrible. Yeah. It's going to flop like hell because, again, it's not offering anything new. In the game industry, when it came out, this is a cool kind of action, adventurer, tomb raiding type story. And it was really, really dope to finally be able to play that out in a game. In the movie industry, we've seen this before. We've seen these kind of games. Again, we have how many Tomb Raiders at this point? How many Indiana Joneses at this point? Do we really need another like action adventure movie at this point? It's I don't understand what this movie's supposed to do that the games haven't done already way better than it could ever do.
Yeah, there's no gap in the story. Like if you look at the timeline and all the events that happen throughout the Uncharted games, I mean we have literally from when he starts thieving as a young boy to everything that happens to him, and I'm not gonna spoil, I guess, Uncharted 4's ending. You know, it moves on and is kind of open to a new thing without Drake, without Nathan Drake. I just don't see, like, I didn't even think. You blew my mind a little bit I forgot that Tomb Raider movie came out.
Yeah.
That was based off the new Tomb Raider reboot, which is based off Uncharted, which is based off Tomb Raider.
Yes.
Which is all slightly inspired by Indiana Jones.
Pretty much.
I mean, are they filming Indiana Jones 6?
Yeah. Harrison Ford on his 131st birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't do any stunts. I don't know what they're
Poor
playing.
Guy.
So I just, like you were saying, I don't know why they're so, I guess they've probably invested so much money into this, but the directors that leave the project all say it's just kind of all over the place. The script keeps being changed. Because every time a director comes, they get to edit the script and edit what they want to do. It kind of reminds, 6 directors. Star Wars Last Jedi had 2 directors.
Yeah.
And look at that. Not Rise of
Skywalker, Colin Trevorrow into
J.J. Abrams again. And that was 2 directors. Mm-hmm. And we ended up getting kind of 2 movies in one. Imagine this.
Oh, this is going to be a mess.
6 directors, 6 rewrites.
Just turns into a neo-noir halfway through.
It's just going to be, it gives me flashbacks to these really movies, like Justice League was 2 directors. Assassin's Creed did nothing. And it's not terrible, but it's like, it doesn't do anything near as good as
There's just no reason to really make this movie.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed did nothing close to what the games gave you. Tomb Raider did nothing close to what the games give you. And Uncharted, I would love to be wrong, but it's not going to give you anything near the experience.
And this is going to be the first of many. Keep in mind, they have a whole initiative, and this is the first one that's going to really launch it up. So theoretically, after this comes out, and if it gets any kind of support and money behind it, if it does really well in China, for example, some action films do really good out there, we're going to see a Last of Us movie. I'm sure. We're going to see a Horizon movie. Well, these things are coming. God of War. I would not be surprised.
The next one is apparently, it's rumored again, is Twisted Metal, but it's supposed to be a series.
Yeah, I've heard that before too.
You guys seen Death Race?
Oh, jeez.
Those are horrible. Yeah. And that's pretty much Twisted Metal. So
the best you could hope for is some of the tone maybe of Mad Max at the very best.
I guess.
Isn't there a Borderlands movie coming too? And I know that's not through Sony.
That just came out of nowhere. That's not Sony, but we like to share the love here on the NeoVintage podcast. Borderlands. My least favorite thing, and I'm in the majority. Most people feel this way. My least favorite thing about Borderlands is the story. The characters aren't that crazy unique. The voice acting is alright. Nobody plays Borderlands for the story. Do you guys
gameplay?
Have you seen the villains of Borderlands 3?
Chaos.
They're TikTokers.
Yeah.
They're TikTokers.
Yeah.
That's all they are. They're going for views, streaming. You want that? So I think of all the great moments in Uncharted, and I don't see what they can do different. Screw it up with CGI. Screw it up with. Tom Holland's a fine actor. I don't have no problem with him.
He's not Nathan Drake.
He's not Nathan Drake. He looks nothing
like... Why is Nathan Fillion not playing a slightly older Nathan Drake and go in that direction?
He's an older, dense man. I don't know.
You can cast him anyways.
Yeah,
but it makes more sense than Tom Holland.
It makes more sense than Tom Holland.
For sure.
Even I always thought Bradley Cooper kind of also had that Nathan.
I could see that.
I could see that. He doesn't look too old. Nathan Fillion's just been around for a while, and so he does look a little bit more distinguished. I thought Bradley Cooper was actually that sweet spot. And there's that director who every movie he directs, I forgot his name. He usually incorporates Bradley Cooper. He was signed on Uncharted one time, but this was way before Tom Holland, so I just don't know. I just don't like the feel who you're gonna get to play all these other characters. Do I want it? I don't know. How's Tom Holland gonna work well with Mark Wahlberg as Sully? And I just nothing. It's like I don't want this. I just don't want this movie.
It's kind of like the video game industry is finally going through what I feel like the anime industry has seen before, where there's just a contingent of Hollywood that feels like the original movies, for some reason, are not enough. Akira, the masterpiece from '88,
Yep.
no, that's not good enough. Let's just make the live action version. Look at Death Note. Look at DBZ, the Evolution game. Look at Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
But watch, the game industry, and the game industry has already had enough examples of why not to do it. We've seen enough video game movies. The best video game movies are not even based on video games.
No.
Scott Pilgrim, Ready Player One.
Yeah.
These are the best video game movies, and they're not even based on video games.
Let me tell you. There's this
Doom?
hidden.
You remember Doom?
There's a new Doom on Netflix.
Oh,
Terrible.
I've heard about
it's pretty
it.
bad.
I've heard about
it's
it.
fun to watch if you want to see a bad movie. One of the worst things, obviously Dragon Ball, terrible.
Oof.
All these movies, terrible. There's a hidden gem people like to forget about, but it's burned in my soul.
Okay.
Dead or Alive, the live action movie, is hot garbage. It is terrible. That is based off a fighting game, and it's just bad. I'm not even going back to the old Mortal Kombat movies.
Street Fighter.
The Street Fighter.
Mario.
The best Street Fighter adaptation I've seen, besides the animated movies. There's a
Love
YouTube
those.
one that Machinima did a while ago. And Machinima's not even around anymore, right?
No,
they
no.
could disappear. That was one of the best things I've seen, and even then it was okay. If some fans who really love the series can't do it, why do you think these higher ups in Sony who have no real connection to the ground can do it? Why? Dead or Alive was terrible.
It's
Terrible.
just, who's asking for this? Who plays Uncharted? It's like, I really wish this was a movie. This isn't enough. Spending all this great time learning these characters and the intricacies of their relationships and the deep aspects of their mental states and all the crazy adventures they go over for hours and hours, getting to really experience these. No, I'd rather a 2-hour condensed experience.
No.
And I mean, I think, like, for example, like that Metal Gear movie that he's been trying to make, that I forget his name. There's this guy who's been trying to make the Metal Gear game. Metal Gear movie, and there's like a lot of care and love, and so I'm almost more willing to give him a chance because at least he's like a big fan of the original game and wants to do it justice. But there's just obviously no love going into this Uncharted movie.
Yeah.
It's just I just don't see what the point of this is, and it's super obvious this is gonna flop.
Yeah, you gotta even look at the success stories. Detective Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Though they were successful, they did okay money-wise. And critically, they were all really like 60s, 70s.
And they're kids movies.
And they're kids movies. It's kind of different aspect. Pokemon sold just on the name Pokemon. But being Pokemon, I thought it was going to be way more money. They did not make that much.
Yeah.
Sonic's made more money. But I think also people went to go see Sonic as a joke. Uncharted is a franchise people love dearly. There's people who like those. That's their favorite series.
In gaming.
In gaming.
And the average person doesn't know who Nathan Drake is.
No, if I go to ask my dad to go watch Uncharted with me, he's gonna be like, "This looks like Indiana Jones."
Yeah, basically.
Well, yeah, because that's where the game came from. Amy Hennig was always clear that this was Indiana, a spiritual successor in a sense. I mean, the new Indiana Jones movies can't even make good Indiana Jones movies anymore, let alone a brand new cast and try to make a story. I just don't see it. I'd love to be wrong. I just can't visualize myself going to the theater, because if and apparently it will come out, we're obviously gonna go see it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Sadly.
And we're both just gonna be the most eye rolling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
Yep.
I'll believe it when I see it. When I see
That's
that
true.
trailer hit, and even then, because New Mutants I also saw trailers for, and that's still not out. So
It's been like 3 years.
yeah.
So
I'll believe it when I'm in the theaters watching it.
yeah, that's true.
All right, so let's get started with our loose topic then.
Yeah, all right. As usual, we like to end the show with a loose topic, a more little open discussion that's not news based. And this is something that I think I suggested. I don't know if I suggested this topic. And it's the infamous/famous Nintendo bump in reviews. I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that Nintendo buys reviews, they don't go sign a check with IGN. No. I think it's just there's an underlying nostalgic and forgiveness for Nintendo games. And I saw this really, it came to light with me with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which, don't get me wrong, let's calm everyone down.
Somebody's already ready at their keyboard.
I understand. I love the Zelda franchise. Majora's Mask, top notch. I just think people forget that the game industry and game development has advanced way further. There's nothing that Zelda Breath of the Wild does that The Witcher 3 doesn't do better, in my opinion. I think there's people who love to support Nintendo. People got scared during the Wii U era that Nintendo was gonna go third party, they were gonna
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
Things were rough.
The Wii U was a tough time. And I think people just want to they want to love Nintendo, so they give Nintendo love. Mario Odyssey was nowhere near as great as like the Mario Galaxy games. You know, so there is this underlying, again, respect to Nintendo, love them. Without them, we wouldn't have so much we have nowadays in the gaming sense. But we gotta call them out on their BS. We gotta call them out on their crap, their dumb decisions, their horrible and I guess ignorant and refusal to accept what people have changed into, and the industry has changed.
Yeah.
So that's really my kind of, I guess, where I want to start with the Nintendo bump.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said to veteran status. And this is not a game exclusive thing. We see it in music, we've seen it with movie makers, we've seen it with artists, all different types of creators, that when you bat at a high average for a long time, you get this kind of leeway with people eventually, where you'll have like a famous rapper who just killed it back in the day, multiple album after album after album, and then 20 years passes and they drop an album, but they get, no one is gonna go out and say like it's a mid album. It's like, no, you gotta respect them because they put in that work.
Yeah.
And if you go back to one thing, Nintendo's older than hell, but even just their contributions in the game industry, I mean, at one time it was pretty much just them and Atari. Atari, who knows where they are? Nintendo persists. Atari versus Sega. Nintendo's still around, Sega. You know what I mean? So they've gone versus after person after person after person, and they kind of just persisted at a really high batting average. You know, they how many classics does Nintendo have?
I mean, yeah, that IP library is
just incredible. And also, you have to keep in mind that they do have like a high standard of quality. Do they always kill it out of the great? No. Kirby Star Allies was meh. Like they have meh games, but at least you could say like their games are finished when they come out. They're not doing these crazy patches that they're buggy Anthem-like messes. Nintendo doesn't really do that. So I feel like just that after year after year after year, people just stop looking at them in a kind of a critical lens, and it's just like, forget what they're doing now, look what they did type situation. And so they do definitely get a bump. Now, the degree of the bump is what I think can be argued, because I think everybody can admit the bump exists. I don't think it's exclusive to Nintendo, because I think for sure like Sony gets a bump sometimes too among certain people.
Obviously, yeah.
Like they're not necessarily revolutionary in terms of third-person action games, but they have a certain level of quality that they've hit for multiple generations now, and so people give them a little Sony bump if you're into those type of games. If you're into platformers, Nintendo's it. Immediately, before you even play this game, they're like 10 out of 10. Like, that's just going to happen if you're into those type of games. But to some people who are not into those type of games, you can't even fathom why anybody even cares about this anymore. So, it's like the bump exists to the extent of how severe it is. Like, obviously, Breath of the Wild, I think, is an incredible game. Is it a 10 out of 10? I don't know. It depends on how you look at it.
Yeah,
like, I think Horizon does things better than Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild does things in terms of its score and explorability better than almost any games of that time. So it's kind of like hit or miss. You know, like I could see it both ways with Nintendo.
Yeah, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that these games are like, and I don't like using numerical scores because it's hard on what we're grading it on. But one out, the 10-point scale is the most commonly used. I'm not saying any of these games are 6 out of 10. Absolutely, I'm just saying they're bumping games from 7 to 8s and 8s to 9s. I don't think Nintendo, at least right now in this generation, in the Switch life cycle, the only 10 out of 10 I guess I would give a game would be Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Due to the fan base bringing all the characters back, solid multiplayer.
As good as it gets, pretty much.
It gets as good as it gets. I don't see what else you could want from Smash Bros. All the other games, I would say, are good. I would say they're great games. 7s, 8s. I mean, 7's nothing to laugh at. I guess people think 7 is a terrible score.
Not
7,
easy to get
8,
a 7.
Yeah, 7, 8, and 9s. Those games are 7, 8, and 9s. And I just... Again, I understand why people just want it to succeed. They want them to be like let's give them that bump. I'm not saying they're bad games. They're minimum, they're good games. But you gotta look what other people are doing. Nintendo likes to do this thing with keep their heads down, with blinders. You gotta look what other people are doing, because if not, you're gonna just at some point it's gonna crack and people are gonna realize it. Because again, Sony was riding a pretty good bump for a while, and then I want to say this last year probably it came down a little. People just expected like Concrete Genie to be really good, and Medieval remake. They thought, oh, they're gonna get the Sony bumps, and they were medium games. Yeah. I mean, I platinumed Concrete Genie.
Yeah.
And I had fun with it. Dreams is also a thing that Dreams is suffering, I think, from a huge Sony bump right now.
For sure.
Because that game is getting incredible reviews, and no one's stating that it's not a game.
If that was a GamePass game, you think anybody gives it these crazy scores? And if you don't think the Nintendo bump exists, if Microsoft made Zelda, do you think anyone's giving it a 10?
Oh, people would talk about how empty it is, there's no story.
There's no music, it's buggy at times. The weapon degradation's annoying.
Exactly.
Like, there's no... Yeah, like, they just... The people kind of overlook these things because they have such fond feelings towards the franchises.
Yeah.
And I respect it. I love Zelda. I love Mario. So I get it. But I feel like people stop reacting critically. And I think also there's probably a fear of it at this point. You don't want to be that one guy who gives Zelda, this franchise, the low score. You don't want to be that guy. So everybody's just like, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, because you gotta be afraid that Nintendo, everyone thinks of them as that family-friendly company. You gotta remember, these are the guys who are now refusing complete digital refunds.
Yeah.
You know, these are the people who are making you rebuy the game over and over and over, not giving us universal accounts, banning you for any little thing they think you're cheating. There was this huge thing when Splatoon 2 launched. If they thought you were cheating, you were banned for months and some people permanently. And these are things that kind of slide on the table. If I think, and I use IGN just because it's the biggest one right now, you know, biggest gaming site. I love other sites as well, but if IGN were to have given Breath of the Wild a 2, the game is nowhere near 2. Let me tell you, that game is great. I've started it multiple times. I bought it, supported it, bought the season pass for the DLC. So I feel like I'm just in saying this because I do enjoy Breath of the Wild. But if IGN were to give it a 2,
they'd wipe that site off the internet.
Nintendo would stop giving them like early access to certain games, and they had Breath of the Wild, and I remember watching podcasts of IGN. They had the Switch like almost a month in advance, rightfully so, because they need to review the hardware. Nintendo would cut those off. So like you're saying, I think people do have a fear.
People value their relationships.
Yeah, because you don't want to be those people who can't work with Nintendo. Nintendo makes good games. I don't think the bump needs to exist. No one is giving Mario Odyssey a 6. I had tons of fun with Mario Odyssey. I beat it over that weekend. You remember when we were texting back and forth about it. I love that game. I recently restarted it a couple months back. It's a solid 8. There's nothing to be wrong. Just because it's a Nintendo game doesn't mean it needs to be a 9. 8s have a spot in this world. You don't need to bump it up when it's just accept that it's a good game.
Yeah, I think they hold their own just fine against all the major parties' main releases. So I don't think they need that bump, and I think they're going to be in that top 10 of the year no matter what, in some capacity. I mean, there's people this year alone of games, and these are not Nintendo games, but these are Switch exclusive. You got games like Astral Chain and stuff like that people are going to throw in there. So, and not to mention Link's Awakening came out this year, for example. And even, luckily, you can see like these lower key games. You can finally see how does it look when a Nintendo game comes out, and not enough people are paying attention to it to give it that crazy bump. And then you get that kind of organic experience where it's like, yeah, this is a really good game that holds up just fine on its own. And yeah, it's not a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. Not everything needs to be. No one shoots 100. Sony has misses. Microsoft definitely has their misses. Yeah. And Nintendo has their misses too. And it's okay. It's okay that they have misses. And it doesn't mean that just because you don't feel like something's a masterpiece doesn't mean that you hate this publisher. Yeah. But hey, just because you think something might be a masterpiece doesn't mean necessarily that you're compromised and it's the bump. So it can go both ways.
It really does. I mean, I'm a huge Square fan. I love all the Final Fantasy and stuff like that. But The Quiet Man is a terrible game.
Oof. I forgot about that.
I think it's more that they published it or whatever it was, but their name is all over, is on that game. That game sucks. I'm not going to tell you it's a good game just because it is. Same with Remedy. just because I really liked Control, I'm not gonna go back and be like, well, Quantum Break needs a little love now. I'm gonna re-rate. No, that game stood as what it was. It was a fine game. I'm not gonna bump it just because I like it. So just because I liked Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, I'm not gonna just like Breath of the Wild because I actually don't like some of the decisions they did with Breath of the Wild. I want them to just go back more to their classic style. And I get it because they're trying to reinvent things, but we can't just accept everything they give us and say it's a masterpiece because of who the chef is, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
If the chef puts a bad plate, I'm going to tell you it's a bad plate. And I want to send it back.
100%.
That's really where it comes down to. But again, if it's you're giving me good food, I don't need to lie and tell you that it's the best food I've ever had. It's the most fun. And I get there's fanboys and fan bases, not even just fanboys, like fan bases. People who put like hundreds of hours into Breath of the Wild. I just recently lent it to a friend and he loves it. He also has he's never really played the classic Zelda games. So seeing him enjoy it through a different lens,
it's interesting.
Puts a perspective, but he also admits, he's like, oh no, but I wish this was better, this was better, this was better, this was better. Or this was like, this game, and this feature should be more like this game, and vice versa. Okay. And that's okay. Games learn off each other. Like we were just talking about Uncharted. Uncharted did Tomb Raider better, so what did Tomb Raider do? Go and copy Uncharted for a new trilogy. And so it's a back and forth. Don't be afraid to learn from your surroundings. Let's just not lie to each other.
Well, in conclusion, we can both conclude definitively the Nintendo bump does exist.
Yeah.
We just gotta let Nintendo compete.
Yeah.
Fairly.
That's it.
Let's get rid of all these bumps. Let's look at things as objectively as possible. Put our biases to the side, our console preferences, our publisher preferences, and just let games exist on a neutral playing field and give everything a chance.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's just accept it all.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be back next Sunday with a brand new episode. So till next time, this is Jabril and I'm with
Steve. How you guys doing?
And this is the NeoVintage Podcast.